Hi there. You know the feeling, that piercing alarm, stubborn high just hours after a new set? You wasted expensive insulin. Now you're starting completely over. If that cycle sounds familiar, you're not alone. In this video, I'll walk you through the 5 most common infusion site mistakes people make. And more importantly, how to fix each one with a clear step-by-step process. So whether you're brand new to pumping or you've been doing this for decades, these lessons can save you from ruined days, stubborn highs, and even dangerous complications like abscesses and skin infections. So make sure you stick around, because mistake number 4 is the most soul-crushing of them all. So let's get into it. Mistake number 1, playing favorites with your real estate. The most common mistake is playing favorites, using that same easy-to-reach spot over and over again. You might not see it, but if you feel around, you can feel that scar tissue buildup. So when I was younger and taking 2 injections a day, I would favor the same 2 spots over and over again, because with this scar tissue buildup, it doesn't hurt. So when you're younger and you're poking yourself, you're going to pick spots that don't hurt, obviously. But the insulin absorption sucked. And over time, it was pointed out and I had to stop using them. This tissue has terrible blood flow and doesn't absorb insulin well. It's like trying to water a plant by pouring water on concrete. Your pump might say it delivered 10 units, but your body only gets 3. This leads to unexplained highs and frustration. The fix is a strict rotation plan, and not just moving from one side of the belly to the other. Think of your abdomen in quadrants, or like a clock face. This change, I'll use 12 o'clock. The next one, I'll use 3 o'clock, making sure it's at least 2 or 3 inches away. Then 6 o'clock, then 9 o'clock. You can do this on your upper butt, your thighs, your arms, and by the time you get back to that first spot, it's had weeks to heal. This one habit will do more for your stability than almost anything else. But even with rotation, your site can fail if you make a mistake in choosing the exact spot. So mistake number 2, building on unstable ground. Now, let's talk about where you're placing the site within that new area. So building on compromised skin is not a good idea. Avoid scars, moles, stretch marks, or right over a tattoo. That tissue won't absorb insulin predictably. Using a high traffic area, like your belt line, your waistband, or where you bend. Every movement puts pressure on the site, leading to discomfort, bent cannulas, and basically the thing falling out. Also steer clear of bony spots or places with very little fat, like for me, it's the back of the arm. You need to be able to pinch an inch. So my pro tip here, before you even open the package, stand up, twist, bend, move around, and find a quiet zone that doesn't move too much. For me, it's a few inches to the side of my belly button and clear of the waistband. Other great spots, the upper buttocks, which I use sometimes, lower back, which I also use sometimes, and the back of the arm, which I never use, but it might be okay for you. Finding this prime real estate is key, but it's only half the battle if you don't prep the surface correctly. Mistake number 3, a poor foundation. So you found the perfect spot. The mistake is just giving it a quick alcohol wipe and popping the site in, although that works for most people, including myself. The foundation is everything. Adhesion issues are a huge source of frustration and danger. So remember, with the no long-acting insulin as a backup, an accidental dislodgement or disconnection can lead to diabetic ketoacidosis in just a few hours without long-acting insulin. So the fix, a non-negotiable multi-step process. First, you clean it. Use an alcohol swab on an area much larger than an adhesive pad. Second, you definitely have to let it dry. Don't wipe and stick. Let the alcohol dry completely. If it's damp, the adhesive won't grip. Third, a skin adhesive like Skin Tack or Mastisol. So wipe it over the entire area, let it dry again for 30 seconds until it's tacky to the touch. This creates a super strong barrier that holds tight through sweat and showers. It's the difference between a site that lasts hours and one that lasts 3 days. But what if you do all this and your blood sugar still skyrockets after you put the site in? That brings us to the most infuriating failure of all, mistake number 4, which I mentioned earlier, the bent cannula catastrophe. This is the most soul-crushing failure because the bent or kinked cannula, the tiny plastic tube under your skin, gets bent during insertion, creating a blockage. And your pump has no clue this is happening. It says you've got insulin, but nothing is getting through. Your blood sugar just climbs and climbs because it almost always comes down to insertion technique. Common error number 1, pinching the skin up too hard or pulling it too tight. When you let it go, the skin snaps back and bends the cannula. Common error number 2, ripping the inserter off too quickly or at a bad angle. If you put it in 90 degrees, make sure you pull it out 90 degrees. So when I'm using those type of cannulas, this is what I do to prevent this. After prepping my skin, place the inserter flat against your body, push the button, and then carefully take the inserter piece out. The next part is key. Before removing the inserter, gently press down on the whole device for a few seconds. This helps the adhesive get a solid grip. Then hold the skin down around the site with 2 fingers and pull the inserter housing straight up and away, slowly and deliberately. This stops the skin from lifting and snapping back. Now, I personally use a true steel, which doesn't have an insertion component to the infusion set. Basically, it's a small device and you insert it just like a needle. With the true steel, I've had no issues with it becoming kinked because it's steel. That's why I use it. I find that I trust it and it's reliable. I've tried to use the other ones in the past and I have no luck with them. And I think that's just my skin type, very thick skin. One more pro tip, create a safety loop. Use a small piece of medical tape to secure a little loop of tubing an inch away from the site. Now my true steel already has this built in with a little 2-component sticker system. Now let's cover the final mistake that can turn a simple issue into a dangerous one. Blind trust. So mistake number 5, blind trust or delayed decisions. The final mistake is putting too much faith in your tech and waiting too long to act. So you put a new site in, a few hours later, you notice your blood sugar is stubbornly high. You correct, give yourself a bolus, and you still climb even higher. You correct again. The dangerous assumption is, that's a brand new site, it must be working. Here's the rule. Anytime you have a stubborn high that isn't responding to a correction, assume the site has failed. The mantra to live by is, when in doubt, change that thing out. Also watch for red flags, pain, redness, swelling, or visible insulin leakage. So the action plan, don't wait. First thing you need to do is immediately take a correction dose with an insulin pen or syringe. This starts getting your blood sugar down while you deal with the pump. Personally, I always assume if you're using a plastic cannula that it's going to be kinked. The next thing you do is you take out the failed set. You look at the cannula. If it's bent in an L shape, there's your answer. Finally, you start over with a fresh set in a new spot using all the steps we just covered. I know it feels like wasting a set, but your health is worth more than just one piece of plastic. So let's recap the 5 mistakes. Number 1, playing favorites instead of rotating your sites using a clock method. Number 2, building an unstable ground like scars or your belt line. Number 3, skimping on skim prep or rushing it. Number 4, using a sloppy insertion technique that bends the cannula. And number 5, waiting too long to fix a failing site. Mastering your infusion sites is not luck. It's about being deliberate, methodical, and your own best advocate. By applying these lessons, you can break the cycle of frustration and get back your time, your peace of mind, and stable blood sugars you deserve. So now I want to hear from you. What's the one infusion site mistake that used to drive you crazy? Drop it in the comments below so we can all learn from each other. What good is perfectly inserted infusion set if you make these mistakes I share here in this video?